Do you like reading books? If so, you're going to love the Business Book Review. This week's book is The Scout Mindset by Julie Galef. This book explores how to think more clearly and make better decisions by adopting what she refers to as a scout mindset. Like a lot of how-to books, this book has also broken all of humanity down into two categories, which on a side note annoys me, but I also totally get it, and I understand why, as authors, we tend to bifurcate things in life. I'm just as guilty of it as anybody, so I don't judge her for doing it. I get it. It simplifies things. It's useful. Here's the separation. There are two types of mindsets: soldier mindset and scout mindset. Most people tend to default to the soldier mindset, which tends to make quick conclusions. They want to protect their identity and look for confirmation bias to justify their actions, and they tend to view the world as having sides. The scout mindset, on the other hand, seeks objective truth. They're curious, they believe in rational evaluation, and they don't identify with a side, but they acknowledge that the world is made up of nuances. The scout mindset acknowledges that we might be wrong and is truth-seeking and self-questioning. The book draws from concepts of psychology, philosophy, and rationality training to teach us how to scout our own beliefs, question ourselves, and make wiser judgments. The book really promotes rational discourse and critical thinking, which I believe has become somewhat of an endangered species in the world of thought. The book is really good at showing you where you're guilty of having a soldier mindset and how much more effective you could be as a leader if you were to instead think of the world through the scout mindset. I give this book 5 out of 5 Macy head tilts. It's amazing. By the way, one of the curious parts of this book was sharing the distinction between two types of confidence: epistemic confidence, or how certain you are that something is true, and social confidence, which is being self-assured. What was interesting was how through academic research, she was able to show how you don't need both forms of confidence to be persuasive. In fact, you might even be more persuasive if you only have one. Which one? Social confidence, and not epistemic confidence. In other words, if you can show that certainty in an outcome is unrealistic, you can be more persuasive than somebody who just states everything with 100% certainty. It's a very nuanced thing, and my goal here isn't to share everything about the process. In fact, hopefully I'm just sparking curiosity so you want to get the book and read it. I highlighted 110 passages from the book, but here's a few of my favorites. One person's "my partner is coldly ignoring me" can be another person's "I'm respectfully giving him space." One person's "authentic" can be another person's "rude." To be willing to consider other interpretations, to even believe that there could be other reasonable interpretations besides your own, requires scout mindset. In scout mindset, our thinking is guided by the question, is it true? We use it to help us see things clearly for the sake of our judgment, so that we can fix problems, notice opportunities, figure out which risks are worth taking, decide how we want to spend our lives, and sometimes better understand the world that we live in for the sake of sheer curiosity. Of course your argument seems compelling to you. Everyone's argument seems compelling to them. That's how motivated reasoning works. There was another piece in the book that I loved but was really hard for me to swallow. And it's the notion that if you admit you might be biased when evaluating a situation, then you're likely to be even more biased than a person who isn't aware of their bias. The reason for this is subtle, but it's powerful. You see, when you start off a discussion saying something to the effect of, "Listen, I might be biased here," but it can increase your level of epistemic confidence, which could actually blind you from the actual facts that might prove you were wrong. In other words, the more you admit that you might be biased, the more you feel entitled to be 100% certain that you aren't biased. The book never gets boring, and I think we'd be a far better society if we all adopted a bit more of a scout mindset. If you read the book, please let me know what you think, and even share some of your favorite lines in the comments below. Also, please use the comment section to recommend a book that you think I might enjoy. Some of my favorite books have come from people that I respect. Also, if you like these reviews, you might want to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications so that when I release another review, you'll be the first to know. Coming up, I'm going to be reviewing Greg Lukianoff's latest book, The Canceling of the American Mind, and one of my favorite books this year, Simple Rules. Until then, let's all try a little harder to be a little better. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch that book review. If you liked it, I think you might like this one as well. Check it out.